Thanks for coming on the podcast. Can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Kate Boknowich. I am a doctor of physical therapy, and I'm also a run and strength coach working primarily with runners living with chronic illness and chronic pain. Personally, I live with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, and chronic migraine.
The trifecta. Uh, um, so I followed you because I saw that you were a running PT, also chronically ill, and I was like, I'm trying to get into that. So over the summer, I feel like I started really trying to get into running. I've always done running like in and out throughout life, but like it's always hurt me. I've always been like, oh God, okay, I just don't feel good after. Like my shins hurt, my feet hurt. I have endometriosis, and I felt like
Hmm.
after runs I would get cramps, and I'm like, and then I actually talked to my doctor about it, and she was like, well, with endo, you have these adhesions and lesions that are like pulling things. So like the running motion, if you're running too fast or something, it could be like pulling. But I've always wanted, I'm like, but I want to run. I'm like, I want to be able to do it. So I started running this past summer. And I actually just ran my first 5K like 2 weekends ago, or no, last week.
Congratulations.
Yay. Well, technically it's my second 5K. The first one I ran was 10 years ago, but like I didn't actually run it. I like walked it and then I puked at the end.
Oh no.
So I'm like, we don't count that. But this was the first one that I actually like ran. I think I walked a little bit, but like ran like most of it. So
It doesn't even matter. You can walk. It's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It still
I
counts.
I have POTS too. So I feel like I ran this 5K last weekend, and I've been training like training. I was gonna say training, but like it is training. I just sometimes I'm like, it's so weird for me because I'm like, I still don't think I'm a runner, but at the same time, like I've been running for like months, so I guess I am now. Imposter syndrome, I don't know. Um,
Oh yeah, imposter syndrome runs rampant in this running community.
I'm sure, like I've definitely, like I was about to say, oh, I'm not training because it was weird because I used the Runna app, and a lot of them were like interval training. So I was like, well, I'm not really training if I'm not like running the whole thing, right? And my boyfriend or fiance, whoops, um, my bad. Um, he has run like his whole life, and he was like, no, you're a runner if you go run, like you are. And I'm like, okay, sure. But
And I'm so glad that he said that to you. That's so validating because I have so many runners who come to me and they're like, "Well, I do run walk intervals." And I'm like,
mhm,
"Great. Like that's fine." I have a lot of clients who that is the way that they train and that's what works for them.
yeah,
And it is running. You are training. There's no reason for you to, put any modifiers or like try to invalidate like your own efforts just because it
yeah.
doesn't look like the training that a healthy person might be doing.
hmm I know, because you see, like on social media, I follow a lot of runners, and they're like, okay, I just went on a 10-mile easy run. And I'm like, maybe I'll get there someday. But I'm like, my easy run is like 2 miles where like I'm running for 5 minutes and walking for one.
And
But,
that's so valid. And I actually encourage a lot of my clients to do a little bit of like a social media audit.
mhm,
And, it's totally fine to be following, runners who inspire you and things like that. But it is important not to play that comparison game
mhm.
to, runners who have totally different things going on in their lives. Like, yeah, for them, like a easy 10 miles, but that can feel really like hurtful to
Yeah,
see and to constantly be bombarded by. So I think it's nice to, if you're feeling triggered by those things, there's no reason why you have to see them. So
that's
doing a
true.
social, yeah, doing a social media audit is it's been helpful for me personally too. And one of the reasons why, I when I started out coaching, I was coaching healthy runners, and I was at a point in my life where I was, healthier.
Hmm
Um, and as my own illness kind of went
Yeah.
rampant, and I, started being less functional, if you will, I really had a hard time relating to the running community.
hmm
It just felt like a cool kids club that I didn't belong to anymore. Uh,
I feel that.
and I've found since switching gears into, working with, I call them spoonie runners,
Hmm.
working with my spoonie runners, uh, that is a sentiment that is widespread felt. And it's
Yeah.
been so amazing to tap into this community that is so underserved. And there's so many of us out there that are saying things like, hey, I read this on your page and I've never resonated with something before. I didn't know that there were other people out there like
Hmm.
me who are dealing with chronic illness, but still trying to train and learn how to
Hmm.
keep running as a part of my life.
Yeah. No, I love that. It was also like I've always wanted to run. Like it's never been like, oh, I want to run a marathon or like I just have always been like, I want to like be able to do those things. And I've never wanted, it's been a really hard balance because I've never wanted my chronic illnesses to be so in control of my life that they like I feel like, oh, I can't run because I have a chronic illness, or I can't run because so I feel like I did let that happen for a long time. And then like this summer I was like, no, we're just gonna figure out a way to do it. And I feel like the walking intervals help a lot or running like really slow. Like I run really slow. I have like a 13-minute mile. So I'm like, but that
That's fine.
I figured out like I could push myself and I could run faster, but like I end up in a flare. And I'm like, this is like the balance where I can still do it, but I don't get a flare and I do get like the positive benefits of it. But I won't lie, I was really nervous to tell my podcast community that I was like training for a 5K because I was like, oh, are they going to think that I'm like not sick enough anymore? Or
Mm.
are they going to like judge me and be like, oh, well, she comes on social media and she talks about like the flares she's in, but then she's like going on runs. So obviously she's not as sick as she's saying, which is like no one has ever, again, love you all if you're listening. No one has ever made me feel that way. That's just like a internal thing that I think a lot of people probably deal with in the chronic illness community. But yeah, I was nervous to like announce that.
And you're not the first person I've heard that from, actually.
Mhm.
It can be, I'm not sure if you follow Gemma. I think I
Yeah,
forget what
Gemma
her handle
Bella,
is.
I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
she has recently been running and she
Hmm.
also has shared, some similar sentiments of like, well, am I doing a disservice to my community for doing this and yada
Hmm.
yada. But I think that there will always be people uh who aren't going to be able to relate to that, and that's okay. There's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with that. But I think it's also important to, demonstrate that
Yeah.
this is something you can do with chronic illness. And not I'm not saying everybody, and
Yeah.
not
And it
everybody
looks
wants to.
different for everybody too. Like it's not
Yes.
like some people have, I think that it really goes back to like the dynamicness of a lot of invisible illnesses, like specifically, like there are obviously other chronic illnesses or disabilities that, yes, may make running nearly impossible or maybe just really
Mhm.
off the table. But like for a lot of things, like a lot of dynamic, invisible illnesses and chronic illnesses and stuff, there are days where you may be able to do those things. And I'm not saying like I trained literally all summer for this 5K and there were days that I had to like move things. I don't want to. Like there I will say there were days that I pushed through and then I was like I should not have done that. Like I need to just really listen and like move things. And there were even like I think there was like a 2 week period where I just did not feel good and I'm like I'm not going to push. It's really like, if anything, running has made me like feel more in tune with my body because I'm like, I can't push myself. I'm gonna be sick. So,
Yes.
but it's a really hard balance, especially being like a social media person. I'm not an influencer. I do not call myself that. But being a presence on social media, I guess, it is hard. Just I've always tried to be as transparent as possible, but it is like it's confusing from an outsider looking in and being like, "Oh, you were down all day yesterday, apparently, and today you're going on a run. Like, how does that work? And I'm like, it's confusing for me too.
It is. It's confusing for everybody. And
Yeah.
I think that the most important thing to remember, just like you said, is highlighting that a lot of us experience dynamic disability.
Hmm.
So, you know, some days I am stuck on the couch. Other days I'm deadlifting my body weight. I
Yeah.
like other days I'm, going for a walk. Sometimes I'm run walking. It There isn't one way to be chronically ill.
Hmm.
We all look different. And I think that if we can, as a community, you know, recognize there's a spectrum that we all exist on
Yeah.
and, understand that, and for an outsider perspective of someone who might be healthy looking in, being like, oh,
Yeah.
well, then she must not be sick enough if she's running. It's just so invalidating and so false. It just kind of speaks to the general um, disconnect and misunderstanding of what living with chronic illness actually looks like.
Yeah. Totally agree. So when I ran this 5K last weekend, and pretty much like all of my training days, I tried really hard to keep my heart rate like at like 170 or lower because I
Hmm.
found that if it was like going above that, I really didn't feel good. Like I would get nauseous and like I just didn't feel good. Because I do also have POTS, so my heart rate is just high anyways a lot of times. And then
Of
obviously
course.
like physical activity and whatever. Well, on race day, I was in a POTS flare the whole day. So I was running this 5K and my heart rate was at 195 the whole time. So I'm like, I don't
Oh,
think it was so high. And I so that's why I had to like walk some of it because I was like I can't let my heart rate get to 200. Like I'm gonna pass out. So I'm like I have to walk it.
smart.
Even though like I felt okay, like I felt like I could keep running it, but I just couldn't get my heart rate under control. I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but I know you said that you had POTS as well. Do you have any tips for like running with POTS or like what to do in those situations?
You did exactly the right thing.
Okay.
So you were, monitoring your body. You know that for yourself, okay, if I get above X heart rate, I'm going to start experiencing XYZ symptoms.
Yeah.
So you did exactly the right thing. Okay, my heart rate's climbing. I need to stop running and take a beat and walk. And there is
Mhm.
literally nothing wrong with that. Like, I you don't have to run the entire race for it to count.
Yeah.
And you don't have to run it without any breaks for it to count. So my recommendation would be first, like walk, check in. If your heart rate still isn't coming down, then I would say, okay, step off to the side, do some calf raises, see
Hmm.
if that can help because we're trying to get that venous return back up.
Yeah.
And
Okay, wait.
that
Calf
yes,
raises. I just found this out. I didn't know that that helped with heart rate stuff. I found that out literally like 2 days ago from like a TikTok. They were like, "Oh, your calves are like your second heart," and I'm like, "Huh?" So
yes.
what does that mean?
Yes. So when it comes to POTS and other forms of
Yeah.
dysautonomia, of course, you know that we get blood pooling in our lower extremities.
Hmm.
And one major thing that helps with venous return, so bringing the blood back up
Hmm.
to the heart, um, is muscle pumping from your calf muscles. So this is true for everybody.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot with people who have chronic venous insufficiency. Doing ankle pumps and things like that can help with venous return. So essentially what's
Okay.
happening is the muscle is like squeezing your veins when it contracts.
Hmm.
So it's helping that blood get past those valves in the veins and helping it get back up. So calf
Okay.
raises are something that I often recommend for my clients with dysautonomia. Like if you're like, say for example, you're in the grocery store and you're starting to
Hmm.
feel symptomatic,
Yeah.
like do a couple calf raises, see if that helps you. So that would be like the next thing, like during the
Okay.
race. And then the thing after that would be, okay, lie down,
Yeah.
like see if that helps. And if it's still not coming down, DNF.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
finish the race. There's no shame in that. There's really not. And I think that when you're a runner living with dysautonomia, we can't control things. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always variables when it comes to race day that anybody can't control, whether, how you're feeling. Like, for example, you were in a flare.
Hmm.
If you're on your period, like different things like that, you can't control all of those variables.
Yeah.
So it's really important to manage expectations and know, like, I'm going to show up and do what I can today, and giving it my all is going to look different on any given day.
Yeah.
And that one snapshot on race day doesn't define me as a runner.
Yeah, I know. I was like frustrated with myself because I was just like, oh gosh, like I technically have run. I think the longest I've run is 4 miles now. I've only done it once, like before a race day, because I was like, I guess I'm just gonna keep going because I was like feeling good that day. Um, and we try to take advantage of the days that we like feel
Oh
fine.
yeah.
But so like I knew that I could do it, and that was like the frustrating part is like I'm like, okay, I know that I can run this whole thing without stopping, but I have to stop because I'm in a POTS flare. I'm like my heart rate's too high. And I was like, it's gonna be more embarrassing if I literally pass out on this freaking cement right now because I'm like trying to keep running. But also they were like, it's in Seattle. It was the Diplo run, like in
Mm,
Seattle. So there were like literally thousands of people around me. And
wow.
I'm like, oh my God, please don't pass out and get trampled by these people.
Oh no. But
uh
yeah, no, you did exactly the right thing. And I think that there's sometimes that internal battle with like runners of like, oh, should I just push through? Should I, what should I do? And I completely think you made the right decision. You know,
yeah.
and this is something that you get better at as you go
Hmm.
along the way. And it can be so frustrating. Like, it really can be so frustrating.
Yeah.
But like I said, that one snapshot on that race day doesn't define you as a runner. And there is literally no shame in stopping to walk like during a race or stopping to take a rest during a race.
Yeah.
It counts. And like runners who don't live with chronic illness do this too. So it's
Yeah.
really no biggie.
I know it sucked like pretty much my heart rate was high like the whole day after that too. Like
Mm.
I think we got home and like we did like the Diplo concert after and it was still I was just standing there, but it was still high, like in like 150s, just like chilling.
Mhm.
And then eventually we came home and even just sitting on the couch, like I don't think my heart rate got it was like 130 for like the whole day, like after. And I'm like, okay, can we just chill out? But
Yeah, you
it
were so
was
flaring.
yeah, I'm like, this is just but sometimes that happens. Um Okay, how do you like specifically about your coaching style? That's the right
Mhm.
word, coaching style. So going from like, I guess like able-bodied people to now like chronically ill, maybe disabled, how have your training plans like changed? What does that look
Ah.
like? Probably a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there has been an evolution in how I approach working with runners.
Hmm.
Um, when you're working with healthier runners, typically you're working on like PR goals, like personal
Yeah.
records, or maybe someone trying to qualify for Boston, or different things like that. And the conversation is more about performance and injury prevention, or working on, whatever they're dealing with,
Yeah.
because as a physical therapist, I was still working with people who were like coming out of injury or things like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to working with the chronically ill community, um, it has been a lot of a lot of education.
Hmm.
And I would say even more so, like, the soft skills are a lot more important. So
Yeah.
not only am I programming for these clients, and I'll talk a little bit about how the programming looks different, but
Yeah.
I'm also helping them work on that acceptance piece,
Hmm.
um, because you have to meet yourself where you're at,
Yeah.
and you know that. And
It's not
It
easy though.
is
Like yeah,
no.
it's hard.
And you have to learn how to accept the reality of your situation
Hmm.
and manage expectations based on that. So I have a lot of runners coming to me who, maybe have been runners their whole life and then now they're experiencing chronic illness and chronic pain
Yeah.
and they're having a really hard time accepting the reality of their situation and their limitations, and maybe they're doing too much and throwing themselves into flares because of it.
Yeah.
So helping these people really come to terms with, hey, like, your running's going to look different.
Hmm.
It's okay, it's not any less valid, but we need to focus on, like, the primary thing here is your overall health and wellness mentally and physically,
Yeah.
and our training has to keep that in mind. And some runners aren't ready to hear that. I've had
Hmm.
people that I've, met with that are like, you know what, I'm just not ready to like train like that.
Yeah.
And I've had other people be like, yeah, that's, you're totally right. Like, I've
Yeah.
been in this boom bust cycle of doing too much and then
Uh-huh.
crashing and then going back to doing too much and then crashing.
Yeah. I feel like I was
Um,
in that cycle for like 3 years. I was like,
yes,
okay, I'm gonna go on a run. I'm gonna go out and try to run a mile and like not pace myself. And then I'm gonna feel like shit. And then I'm gonna be annoyed that I feel like shit. And I'm gonna try again. And
yes,
yeah, it was until finally, like even this summer, I was annoyed with like having to take it slow, but and like do like the like I think I started out doing like 1 minute run, a minute and a half walk. Like and
perfect.
run, it was like barely run, like jog as slow
Yeah,
as physically possible. But like, and I was annoyed with that. I was like this is so annoying. But I watched so many like YouTube videos of even just like healthy runners being like, if you've never run before, like this is the so just treat it like you've never run. And I was like, okay. And even with that, sometimes I would have like a flare after, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to like run for 30 seconds. And so it was a lot of like being as slow as possible and as like literally like newborn stage runner as
yes.
physically possible, even though like I was very much like, okay, how am I going to get like, I think I started end of May, and I was like, how am I going to be able to run 3 miles at by the end of September when I can't even run 30 seconds. Like what? But I mean it worked. Somehow it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and what you really did there is you met yourself where you were at. And you're
Hmm.
allowed to be annoyed. You're allowed to be
Yeah.
frustrated through the process. It's not fun. And I so many people are like, when can I get to like the next phase? And there's so much of this like, okay, we need to stay. So I'll talk a little bit more about the programming.
Yeah.
Run walk intervals, absolutely. If I have someone coming to me who is trying to get back into running after not
Hmm.
running for a long time, the first thing we're doing is walking. And
Hmm.
once you can get to the point where you're able to walk like 30 minutes 3 times a week without
Yeah.
having like repercussions, like symptom repercussions.
I will say like for the past like honestly like the past year I've just been walking, which I didn't
Mhm.
realize like was
Me too.
helpful. Like I literally just walked, and it started out with like it depended on the day, but like maybe I'd walk for like 10 minutes. And now I can go, if I'm feeling good, I can go on like a Saturday, like 3, 4, 5 mile walk and be fine. But, also sometime there was one recently where I went like on a 5 mile walk and I thought I was okay. And then like on the way back, I was like, Tyler, can you come get me? I'm like, I walked too far away and now I'm having cramps. So I'm like, help.
Yes, and
But
that's the thing, like there's always ups and downs, and it's there's always a learning curve, and
mhm.
even when you feel like you are in tune with your body and you've got it, there's always going to be
Yeah,
those
like you just don't know.
missteps along the way. You don't
Yeah.
know. And that's life with chronic illness. It's so dynamic and it's so unpredictable.
Hmm.
Um, and I really emphasize that in my training plans. So when I write a plan for a runner, I am always emphasizing like, hey, whatever I put on your calendar is not set in stone.
Hmm.
I'm also typically giving options like, hey, this is like the if you're feeling good, do this. If not, like swap out
Yeah.
for a bike ride or a walk. or cut your strength training short, or do this, more modified version
Yeah.
instead, or let's figure out how to rework your schedule so that we can make this work, or sometimes it's literally we have a training plan for like a 10K, and then halfway through we have to pivot the goal
Yeah.
because it's no longer within the capacity, and that's fine. And it's so many of my runners are like, I'm so sorry. I'm like,
It's
don't
okay.
apologize. This
Yeah.
is my job, and like that's what I'm here for, is to be that support when the wheels fall off,
Mhm.
and to let you know that it's okay to pivot. You're not giving up, you're just adjusting.
Yeah, I know that's like pretty much my whole motto for life. I'm like, you, which has been like a really big thing with like the podcast and like the community and everything. I know like sometimes in the chronic illness space, it can feel very like isolating, negative, like we can't do everything because like our chronic illness controls. And I felt like that for a very long time. I was like, no, like I have to change my whole life because, like there's not accommodations or whatever. But I feel like I've really in the past like year started to get in the past year really have gotten to the point where like you can still I truly believe that most people with chronic illnesses can still do everything that they want to do with adjustments. Like we can life is still here to be lived. This is not
Yes.
I mean it feels like a death sentence a lot of times, but like it's not. So I'm just
Yes.
like we can still live full lives and still hit goals that you want to hit and do things that you want to do. It just might take longer or need like a shit ton of adjustments, which is annoying, but it works. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think there are, we a lot of us have those like self-limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
hey, I can't do this because XYZ. And I also went through that,
Hmm.
you know, I think you tend to find there's such a spectrum in the chronic illness community, because you tend to find like, oh, this like side of things where it's like, and I'm not, this isn't me like judging at
Yeah.
all, but there's like a side of, the chronic illness community that is, a little bit more self-limiting, like woe is me
Yeah.
type thing. And that sometimes does really resonate me with me.
Hmm.
And uh however, I think that sometimes that end of the community, you know, might not be helpful
Hmm.
to be immersed in all the time. And then you get the other spectrum of the community that's like toxic positivity pushed
Yeah.
through, like all that, which is
Yeah.
garbage. So you have to
I
find
know.
this
You
like
have to really like live in the middle. Like that
the
also is
middle ground.
why I try to be like as vulnerable and transparent on the podcast, social media, and all that stuff. Cause I'm like, there are days where I do feel toxic positivity. There are days where I do feel my fucking life sucks. Like this is not
Yep.
fair. And I think that, everyone in the chronic illness space will probably go through both spectrums at different times. But yeah, living fully in either one of them all the time is I don't think is healthy, but that's everyone's I think I lived in this like victim mindset for a long time because I was just like this fucking sucks. Like and it
Yep.
does.
It
And
does fucking suck.
I think everybody will like anybody who is chronically ill and their entire fucking life changes, they'll live through that for sure. But yeah, kind of creating a space of balance and just like as much this is what I'm going through today. This is what I'm going through, and like it's here, is really like what I try. But also, like again, it's a hard balance because you're like, okay, I don't want to like share so much negative. I just try to just share whatever. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm feeling today. We're doing
And
good.
I think that's helpful, because that's the reality. I mean, it doesn't always look one way.
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful for other people going through it to be like, oh, like I'm not alone in this. And I've heard a lot
Hmm.
about that since I started sharing, my my own story on my page, and things like that. It's been so interesting to see, to hear from people and say, oh my gosh, like
Hmm.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
is big. But no, I 100% agree. I think that in every like um community of people, I guess, there are always going to be like really low and really high parts of those communities. And I think that, yeah, like finding where you resonate takes time. But, you know, it does help though. Community, I feel like community within like chronic illness is so important. Like it's such an isolating thing if you're around so many people that like experience life just completely differently from you. Like it does feel like you are the odd man out. Like you're the one that has something wrong with you. And like chronic illness, it's not my fault I have endometriosis. Like I didn't pick this. So
Yeah, hey, I didn't ask to be born.
yeah, I'm like, what the, although my mother will say, she's like, I gave life to you. And I'm like, I didn't ask for it. Okay. I'm
See,
like, thank you.
for me with HEDS, since it's genetic, my mom's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's not like you didn't know.
I know. I'm like, yeah, I did get a lot of like, I joke with my mom. It's not a joke though, but I joke with my mom about it because I'm like, dude, everything like from my mom's mom, so my maternal grandma, my mom got everything out of her two sisters, like all of the bad genes, all of the bad crap. And I got it from my mom, and all my other cousins and family don't have. I'm like, why me? I'm like, why? What? I'm like, what the?
Dude, I have a twin sister and we're technically fraternal, but we look
Yeah.
identical and she is perfectly healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, I know in our
Must
like,
be nice.
I know like in our genetic pool, like my maternal grandma had factor V Leiden, which is like a blood clotting disorder.
Mm.
And my mom has it out of like her two sisters, no one else has it. And I have it out of like the nine cousins, no one else has it. And I'm just like, what genes did you pass down to me? This is crazy. But
We won the lottery.
I know, like whole bunch of other random stuff. And I mean, we don't know for sure if endometriosis has a genetic component, but like we think the world thinks that there is. Again, my grandma had it, my mom has it, no one else has it. And I'm like, girl, there's something in our like gene pool that like I got from my mom and my grandma that no one else has. But it's,
Absolutely.
yeah. What are some of like key strength or mobility exercises that you
Mm.
incorporate to prevent injury? I mean, I guess like in general, but I would say like specifically with like hypermobility people, because like I know that it is easier to get injured with things. I don't technically have hypermobility, but yeah.
It's a great question. So, first things first, we can, there isn't really evidence that shows that strength training prevents running injuries.
Oh,
So
really?
I just want, yeah, I do want to like put that out there.
Okay.
Um, there obviously needs to be more evidence for this. That said, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't strength train as runners. It's just a little bit more like nuanced.
Yeah.
I will also say a little caveat is like the studies on strength training and running really like aren't good. Like either there wasn't compliance with the strength program, or when you actually
Yeah.
look at the strength program, you're like, that's not actually even strength training. Like,
Oh,
okay. So it's yeah. So there again, like I said, there
I
needs to be
love
more
that you called that
research.
out though, because a lot of people like, I think it's only like, I'll look this up, but I was reading something the other day that it was like only 30% of people know how to read research papers. Like, and when I say like obviously people can read a research paper, but I mean like know how to read a research paper in the means of like looking at like what's the sample size? What test did they do? Like
Mhm.
is it valid to act? Because people do research all the time and they obviously it's not always the best study method or I mean, the minimum number of people you need for a study to be valid is 10, which is like
Yeah,
so small. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that. So they go and read a research paper and they're like, oh, okay, like sure, it's valid because it was published. No,
yeah,
that doesn't mean it's valid. Like it was just
yeah.
published. They did something.
It's it's so important to actually look at like the methods
Yeah.
and not just the conclusions, you know. But anyways,
I
step
think that
off
the
that.
discussion is like the best part of a research paper.
Yes,
I have
yeah.
a I have a master's in bacteriology, so like
Mm,
I I love reading research papers, but yeah.
yes. No, it's really, yeah, a lot of people will just read the abstract and run with it.
Yeah.
But I'll get off my soapbox for that. But regardless, when it comes to like strength training and running, I still highly recommend it for every single runner. Strength training builds our capacity to be able to better tolerate our run training.
Hmm.
Um, and there is evidence that uh, it can improve running economy, which is a measure of running fitness, and you know just as humans,
Hmm.
we should be strength training in
Yeah.
general. This is for bone health, joint health, brain health, so many different things. Just honestly, generally, like confidence in your
Yeah.
abilities. When it comes to like specific things that I recommend, uh, across the board, it's going to be heavy strength training. And when I say that, people get super like scared.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean by heavy?
Right. Heavy is relative. Heavy
Hmm.
is relative. So I'm never prescribing like a certain amount of weight for my
Yeah.
clients to lift. I'm using a scale called reps in reserve.
Okay.
So this is a form of auto regulation as far as self selection of weights. And essentially, what I'm saying is, I want you to finish your set of 6 to 8 reps, which is
Hmm.
around the like range that we want to be. I want you to finish your set feeling like you've got about 2 to 4 reps left in the tank. So you're
Hmm.
not maxing out. It
Yeah.
is an approximation to failure. Uh, this is something that helps us get into that intensity zone where we are creating adaptations, strength adaptations, um, but in a way that we can still better recover from, because we can still get the benefits from resistance training even when we're not maxing out. And there's actually research
Yeah.
that shows that it's better because your recovery is better, so you can train more.
Okay.
Um, so, you know, what that might look like for someone who has never strength trained before, though, might just be getting familiar with you know, those big ticket compound moves
Hmm.
and movement patterns without worrying about the resistance and approximation to
Yeah.
failure, and then adding in that piece as they start to get comfortable. So it totally looks different for everybody.
Hmm.
But I'm always programming things like squats, deadlifts, other like hinge patterns, presses like overhead press, bench press,
Yeah.
rows, those types of things that you just see in every good strength training program.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, there's only like 4 to 5 exercises per workout. So we're not doing like 10 to 12 crazy
Yeah.
exercises. We are working on strength. So that means we're resting a lot in between our sets, like 2 to 3 minutes.
Hmm.
Um, and we're not trying to get sweaty, breathless, red in the face, feeling the burn.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you're going to be walking away from the workout not feeling that way, and maybe feeling like, you know, did
Yeah.
I, a lot of runners are like, oh, I'm so used to that like feeling of I I worked really hard at the end of a
Yeah.
run, and you're not always gonna get that at the end of a strength training session. And it's always important to remember the goal. Like, we're not here to improve your cardio fitness. We're building strength. So that
Yeah.
is such a switch. I think when it comes to specifically the hypermobility community, a lot of us have a very difficult time uh like figuring out where our bodies are in space. And that is due to hypermobility in joints, and you know not being able to we have proprioceptors in
Hmm.
our joints that tell us where our body is in space, and that can kind of disrupt that. So it can be difficult. So a lot of times I'm having all my clients send me videos of them doing these exercises, so that I
Mm.
can help them with form tips of like, hey, like move that hand back, or hey, like you're overextending your elbow, like you're
Yeah.
hyperextending your elbow in this move, like let's keep it to the normal range of motion. um so that is typically
Okay.
little things that I'm like working on. But within the hypermobility community, strength training is so goddamn important. It is like the best thing you can do because your ligaments aren't doing their job, right? Like our connective tissue isn't doing its job. So, what can we do to stabilize our muscle or our joints? Build muscle. Muscle is protective. And also for the dysautonomia community, having more muscle mass is also really good for you when you think about that Venus return,
Yeah.
so it's really just such an important piece. Um, so I didn't really give any like I guess I gave some like exercises, but
Yeah, no, I think that was,
um,
yeah, that's definitely really helpful. How do you, I feel like I'm gonna know your answer, but how do you feel about like specifically in the Pilates community? Like I've done Pilates classes before and they're always like, yeah, go until you're shaky. Like you're supposed to. What do you think about that? Is that
so
legit?
I'm not a Pilates instructor, so I don't know, and I personally have never done Pilates, so I
Yeah.
really don't know too much about it. So I can't speak to like the is that legit? Like, should you be doing that? Um, that said, I do have like clients that do really like Pilates,
Hmm.
and there's no reason why you can't have that as a part of your workout routine if you like it and it's helpful for you.
Yeah.
However, I'm always encouraging people to prioritize the strength. So that may be like, okay, say you're doing Pilates like 2 or 3 times a week. Okay, we're going to cut that down to once.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in the gym lifting 1 or 2 times a week
Yeah.
instead of that extra Pilates workout. So just kind of trying to find that balance because Pilates is really great for, stability and, you do build some strength there. And a lot of people really, really love it.
Hmm.
So I never want to take that piece away. It's the same thing with like yoga.
Yeah.
But we also need to make sure that we're prioritizing the things that are important in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things.
I just have always thought it was really funny, like going to Pilates classes, like everybody walks out like they're like literally like Bambi newborn deers because like our legs are like shaky as hell. And I'm like, it's so funny because like any other workout class that you go to, they're like, no, you don't go until failure. But like in Pilates, they're like, yeah, keep going. And I'm like, okay.
And for anyone who's like going to those classes, I would say
Yeah.
like just like listen to yourself more than
Hmm.
you listen to the instructor.
Yeah. No, I also like if I go to group fitness classes, I used to get embarrassed by this, but I've started telling them, I'm like, hey, just so you know, like if I'm stopping or if I'm doing something different, it's not because I'm being disrespectful to you, like or like what you're teaching. Because I've like seen that on TikTok, like yoga instructors go on there and they're like, this girl was in my class doing a completely different thing. And I'm like, maybe like let's have some like grace. Like maybe let's think about
Yeah,
why
some
people are doing that.
empathy.
Like anyway, so I tell my instructors now, I'm like, hey, by the way, if you see me like stop for a while, like longer than you think is a normal break, or I'm doing something completely different, it's not that I'm being disrespectful to like your class that you like made time making, but I like have chronic illnesses and I might not be able to do those things. And they're like, oh, yeah, for sure. And I've noticed that they're a lot more like, they'll come over and like check on, like, if I'm taking a break for a while, they're like, are you awake? And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm not passed out. Um,
That's a good tip though for people
yeah.
who are, maybe are avoiding like group fitness classes, you know,
Yeah.
for those reasons. I like that tip of just giving that caveat of like, hey, like and you shouldn't have to explain yourself like to a good
No,
trainer,
like you
but
should
that
be able
peace
to
of
just do
mind,
it. Yeah.
yes, but that peace of mind knowing like I'm not going to get judged from the instructor during
Yeah,
the
or they're
workout
not gonna
is
like call
nice.
you out because I've had that happen before too, where like I'm in
Oh
like
my
a Pilates
God.
class and they're like, come on, Lexi, keep going. And I'm like, I'm about to pass out. Please shut up. I'm like,
Right. And in those moments, it's like you don't need someone telling you to keep going. You need someone to encourage you to rest.
yeah. And I understand that like they, have only worked with like able-bodied people. So they're probably thinking, let me give you like encouragement to keep going. And I'm like,
Right.
no, like I stopped because the room is spinning, like not because I like don't want to keep doing it. So I
Right.
do think that just like telling the instructors at the very minimum, like, hey, I have chronic illnesses, whatever. Um, in reality, I really started doing it because like with POTS and everything, like I don't, a couple years ago, I was passing out every once in a while, but I haven't in a long time. I get like really bad pre-syncope though.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, like it might happen. And I just feel like everything around me, like, I get like oh my God, how do I explain it? Like the blackout, like everything kind of just like comes,
Tunnel vision.
yeah,
Yeah.
tunnel vision. I was like, what is this called? So yeah, and then my heart rate is really high. And I also get, have you ever gotten like contrast before in an IV?
Yes.
Okay, so like when you get contrast in an IV, you get this like all over like warm feeling, like it feels like you're gonna pee.
Yes. I hate it.
I get that with pre-syncope, which is like fucking
Wow.
awful. Because I'm like, why am
Wow.
I get it's like a hot flash, I think. But like
Mm.
I've gotten contrast a lot, so I'm always like, it feels like that. But yeah, I think it's a hot flash and it's awful. So, but I haven't passed out in a while, but I think it's because I really like I know what's happening now, so I like sit down and anyway, I was worried about that happening in workout classes because I didn't want to like push myself and then like pass out and my instructor be like, "What the fuck just happened?" So,
No,
anyways,
I think that's you bring up a really important point though in like in people's chronic illness journeys. It takes time to learn, okay, what really are my symptoms and
yeah,
especially when you're exercising, being able to differentiate between just feeling like you're working hard versus
yeah,
these I'm becoming symptomatic and
yeah,
need
like
to
something's
take a
wrong.
beat. Like for me, it's somewhat similar. Like my heart rate will keep climbing and won't come down. I get that I'll start getting some black spots in my vision and some tinnitus.
Yeah,
And then I'll get that like tunnel vision type thing.
yeah,
So I think it's important for anyone who is living with chronic illness and is an exerciser or whatever to know those signs so that they can then adjust.
yeah, agree. I know, and it took me a long time to, yeah, just like not, because it would get confusing because I would like push hard in like workouts or whatever, and then I would be really confused why. Because I wasn't noticing that, like, oh, I'm also getting symptoms during this that are not related to working out really hard. A lot of my workouts now, like, I don't push that hard because I'm like, it doesn't have to be crazy to like be effective. But
Yes, so true.
okay, what role does like vagus nerve support, breath work, all of that stuff come into your coaching practice?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something that I've been talking about a little bit more recently. And with my clients who have dysautonomia, I typically encourage them at the end of their workout, and I actually just posted a reel about this today. At the end of their workout, I recommend them to do some breathing exercises to, because when we're in that workout phase, we're in that sympathetic fight or flight type
Yeah,
mode. So taking some time after your workout to lay down with either in like a hook lying position, like with your knees bent or with your knees up on a bench or whatever, taking a beat to just do some deep breathing exercises, let that heart rate come down, uh, and then taking your time to like slowly get up
yeah,
is has been very helpful for me personally and for my clients just as you're leaving your workout. It helps you get back into that parasympathetic rest mode so
yeah,
that we're not in this heightened state of anxiety and sympathetic fight or flight as we're going back into our day. So
yeah.
I notice a big difference personally when I take the time to do that versus when I'm like in a rush and maybe skip it.
Yeah.
Um, I notice a big difference in my anxiety and also just in my overall symptoms and how I'm feeling for the rest of the day. So that's something that I tend to recommend for my clients who are having, those types of issues.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also really, what's it? I think it's called like a physiological breath or something, like where you like you take a deep breath and then at the top of it you take like another quick like rapid like inhale um
Yeah.
and then like breathe it all out. I feel like that has helped me a lot with running, like trying to get like I'm still running, but like I'm doing that breath, not like back to
Mm.
back, but like if my heart rate is like too high and slowing down isn't helping and I don't want to walk, then I'll try to do that like breath to like trick my nervous system into being like, okay, can we like calm down a little bit? And it does help sometimes, not always. Sometimes I still have to just walk, but that is how like I have been able to get my heart rate down quicker. But no, I totally agree. Like pretty much after anything I do, I like sit there and do breath work to just it's like the quickest way to help my heart rate.
To just like chill out. But no,
Yeah.
what you mentioned, the it's called a physiological sigh.
Okay, yeah.
With the two quick inhales and like a long exhale.
Yeah.
And it does it can help reduce, heart rate and regulate your breathing pattern.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome that you brought that up. You know, it's a good tool, to have in
Mhm.
your pocket.
Yeah, I really like that one. I feel like that has helped because there was a while in like the running training that I was like, God, I like can't get my I was trying to keep it under 170, but like it wasn't really working unless I like stopped to walk, but I wanted to like run through the whole thing. And I felt like I couldn't get like my breathing fully under control, but if I was doing that like every, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, then it would help get it like back into like the right pattern. So that was helpful. Okay, I also wanted to ask you about, I don't know if you know much about this or not, but something that I've been really confused about is like VO2 max, like cardio fitness. Like what what the fuck? I mean, I know like what the definition is, but specifically my Apple Watch for like 2 years has been telling me that I am like very low cardio fitness. And I'm like, I've been running all summer and it still says low. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's
Okay.
so, it's all it is a measure of like the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. So it's a measure of like physical fitness, and an
Hmm.
indicator of cardiorespiratory fitness.
Yeah.
Uh, that said, so this is something that can improve with endurance training,
Hmm.
a number of different things. That said, if you're a runner living with chronic illness, like things like VO2 max, running economy, like different measures like that just aren't that important to me as a
Hmm.
coach.
Yeah.
Yes, it can give an indication of your fitness, but it's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
And the Garmin measurement isn't like 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So I'm typically like recommending to my clients to focus more on,
Oh,
bless you,
sorry.
to focus more on things like being able to identify how you're feeling
Yeah.
individually, like with tuning into your own body and not worrying so much about those performance indicators.
Yeah.
Um, Good
I
question though.
think again, I don't, for anybody listening, I don't know if there's any science validity behind this, but I have found that a lot of people that I did like a question box on Instagram and I was like, do you have POTS and do you have low VO2 max? And like, almost everyone was like, yeah, I do. I do. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really um, like relevant to each other or if it's more about like, we're not running hills, maybe.
It's
Like,
more so, I would say it's more so related to like having POTS and your increased heart rate.
yeah,
You have a reduced ability to deliver oxygen to the muscles. So it
yeah,
makes sense that you would have a lower VO2 max.
yeah,
Um, it's you have like impaired, like, okay, like, yes, reduced exercise capacity, but also impaired oxygen delivery. You have a decreased stroke volume with your heart.
yeah,
So there's different things that would say, yes, this is an indicator. This is a normal thing to see
hmm,
with someone with POTS. I wouldn't worry too much about it. can it improve? Can your VO2 max improve over time with gradual exercise that meets you where you're at? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it just is important to know that that's normal. It's
Okay.
okay.
I have a mitral valve prolapse, so I'm like, I don't know if it's ever really gonna increase. Like my heart just
It
like is working hard. But also like I have a cardiologist and he's like, you shouldn't see symptoms from it. And I'm like, okay, why? I'm like, there's look whatever. Like, sure. But and like he was like, you shouldn't see symptoms unless you're pregnant, then your heart has to work harder. So like maybe. And I'm like, isn't my heart working harder like all the time anyway? Like, whatever. Sure.
yeah, sure, whatever. Whatever
Yeah.
you say,
I'm
doctor.
like, interesting. But no, I got diagnosed with the prolapse like during the period like like I had POTS, but they like didn't realize that. But I had all of the symptoms. Like I was passing out, my heart rate was really high. I had all of the pot symptoms. And they just kept putting like heart monitors on me and found that I had a prolapse. And it was so confusing because they were like, oh, well, the prolapse is causing all this, but also it shouldn't cause symptoms, so you're good. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Like, I have symptoms, but you're saying it shouldn't cause symptoms. And then they're like, okay, have a good day. And I'm like, what? And
Yeah,
then,
it's
like, years later, my primary diagnose, like, actually, like, this year, my primary is like, you have POTS. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, huh? I
and
didn't know.
both those conditions can like cause similar
Yeah.
symptoms. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And no, but my cardiologist was so confusing. This was like 5 years ago. He was like, well, we found that you have a prolapse, but also it shouldn't cause symptoms. But I know you're saying you have symptoms, but you're fine. So don't worry about it. And I think I was like 20, and he was like, normally female 20-year-olds just have tachycardia. They have high heart rates.
Excuse me?
And I'm like, but like 150 when I'm sleeping? Hi?
No, and that should have been like, okay, you have the prolapse, but this shouldn't cause you that then they should have done the dysautonomia workup with the tilt table test and that like all
Yeah.
that stuff. That should
And
have been
they
the next step.
and they didn't. They just were like, okay, bye. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? Like, I still have the
Just
symptoms.
you're like, I guess fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, well then they were like, go talk to your primary, talk to my primary, and my primary's like, well, it's anxiety, like and you're stressed. And I'm like, because then they
So many
started saying
women
that
are
I was
told that.
having, I know, they started saying that I was having like panic attacks, and I just didn't realize I was having panic attacks. And I was like, wouldn't I know? Like,
No, you were having presyncope.
yeah, and because they were saying that like my presyncope and my high heart rate, because I would wake up in the middle of the night with like I literally thought we were having like an earthquake because I thought my bed was vibrating, but it was my heart rate was like so
Mhm.
fast. Um, and I would tell them that, and they're like, "You're having a panic attack in your sleep, like you're having nightmare dream, whatever." And I'm like, "But I don't feel like nothing happened." And they're like,
Yeah.
"No, like yeah, it's anxiety, it's panic." I went to the hospital one time and they said that my grandma had died like 2 weeks ago. And because they were asking like all like external, they're like, well, what's going on in your life? And I'm like, well, my grandma died like 2 weeks ago. And they're like, yeah, you have heartbreaks, like silent heartbreak syndrome or something. Like that's why your heart rate's so high. Because I went in and it was like almost at 200 for no reason. And I'm just
Great.
like it was crazy.
There's just so much invalidation
Like never
for
once
us.
was like, yeah, we should look at dysautonomy. Nothing. It was until like this year finally. And even that, like I felt we didn't do the actual tilt table test because I have a lot of like ear issues too. And like I've had ear infections my whole life. I get them frequently.
Mhm.
And I have ruptured this eardrum twice. So like I just have like
Oh
a lot of
boy.
like inner ear issues. So my doctor was like, I don't really want to put you through a tilt table test because you might get like really bad vertigo and like I get vertigo anyways. And like
Ooh,
really bad nausea and stuff. So she's like, I don't want to put you through that, but like you have POTS, like I'm diagnosing you. And I'm like,
perfect.
even it took me until like recently to like allow myself to have that diagnosis because I just was like, are we sure? Because for years I was told nothing, Like, it's fine to have this high of a heart rate. And she's like, I diagnosed you, Lexi. And I'm like, okay.
Right. There is that imposter syndrome though.
Yeah.
It's that like combination of invalidation and medical gaslighting.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
Crazy. Anyways, last couple questions for you. Do you find that coaching chronically ill runners has helped you in your own healing journey? Like, how does that changed your
A
stuff?
hun yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned previously, I, shifted towards working with this client population after my own symptoms got worse and I was having a hard time relating to the chronic illness, or not chronic illness, to the running community.
Yeah.
Uh, and I really didn't, I was kind of nervous to switch over to this population because I was like, is there a
Mhm.
market there? Are there people who want this, who need this, who want this content? And
Yeah.
sure enough, there was like, a ton of people reaching out to me, and it has helped me immensely, you know, personally with my own acceptance of my limitations. My clients are
Yeah.
so understanding if I need to reschedule something and vice versa.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, it is really nice to work with people who get it. And I hear the same thing, for my clients. It's really nice to have a coach who gets it.
Yeah.
So for me personally, being able to, relate to my clients and learn things from them has been so phenomenal. And I just love having the opportunity to surround myself with like-minded people
Hmm.
and like I said, just people who get it. So, it has helped me immensely in my own acceptance of my own journey. And, because
Yeah.
I'm not currently running. So it's been really amazing to connect with this community and be able to, reap benefits from them while I'm,
Aw.
helping them as well.
Yeah. I love that. What do you want listeners, especially those who think running might not be possible for them, to know after hearing this episode?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. And this is something that we haven't touched on that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess it'll be a little bit like uh long-winded, but
Okay.
the first thing is meet yourself where you're at. That
Hmm.
might be like, say you're someone with dysautonomia who can't even tolerate like walking for a bit. That might be recumbent cycling until you can get to a point where you're walking, until you can get to a
Yeah.
point where that's tolerable and run walking. So, you might not be ready to run right now, uh, but there's ways to get you to that point. I would say, never say never. You may have
Hmm.
had or you may have had a clinician tell you, don't run or don't lift over 50 pounds. Um, that's fooey. And and it's all about that meeting yourself where you're at. So you might not be ready to lift 50 pounds right now. You might not be ready to run a mile right now, but it doesn't mean that you'll never be ready.
Hmm.
Another thing is like, you don't, if you don't want to run, you don't have to run. Like,
Yeah.
I have people who reach out to me that are like, can you help me like running? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like it, like, you don't have to do something you don't like.
Yeah.
Um,
My
but
fiance is
then,
like great at running, has run his whole life, and he hates it. He's like, I don't like running. Like he literally was like in high school, he could run, I think what did he say? Like 15, 30, 5K, which is fucking
holy
like
shit,
so fast. He's really good at it. Hates
that's
it.
impressive.
Hates it. I like running. Awful at it. Like, so it's just so funny. Like I signed us up for this 5K and I was like, like you're good at it. And he's like, I fucking hate running. Like, I don't want to do this. I was like,
That is so funny.
I was like,
And
it's fine.
for runners who are fast, 5Ks are the worst. It's
Yeah.
the worst. The
Yeah.
worst distance for someone who it hurts.
Hmm. Yeah. He
But
ended up, it's actually insane. I've been training all summer. The 5K, I think we were at like 41 minutes or something for like myself. He has not run in like 5 years, like literally hasn't run, doesn't even go on like daily walks, like nothing. He ran his 5K in 30 minutes. I'm like,
yeah, yeah. That's like my
okay,
husband. Like he'll run like every now and then he like whipped out like a 23-minute 5K like a couple months ago. Just no speed work. He just did like he was just like running, and back in the
Yeah.
day he was running like 17 something for a 5K, but just
Yeah.
like
I know. I'm
like
like, what the hell? I'm like,
okay.
I've been training all summer and you come out here and you run fucking 30-minute 5K and you have not run in 5 years and you are not in the best shape.
Yeah,
Like,
like
this is not,
must be nice.
yeah, like whatever. Anyways,
But
yeah.
my other big takeaway, and this is a big topic that I did want to cover,
Mm,
is learning about your energy envelope.
mm,
Um, and this is so important for just like the big grand scheme of training. So, some people call it an energy envelope or whatever, but I'm really talking about like your capacity to handle stress.
yeah.
And stress, your body doesn't know the difference between physical and emotional stress. So stress is stress. And when we get to the point where our stress is exceeding our envelope,
Yeah.
we are now at a point where we are no longer effectively recovering from that stress. So it's important to recognize this because this puts us at a higher risk, not only for injury, and that's true for every runner, but also
Yeah.
for like a flare of symptoms or
Yeah.
burnout, etc. So thinking about this, when you're doing your training plan, and maybe trying to figure out, different things that have happened, it's important to look not only at like the overall training stress and training volume, but also like, am I, you know, am I having poor sleep? Am I, not eating enough to fuel my
Yeah.
training? Am I having a really stressful period of time at work? Different things like that. So those different things fill it up, and when our stress envelope or our energy, it's just filled with filled to the brim with things, and we don't have room for that training stress to be able to
Yeah.
recover from it. um you know it's important to recognize that, so that helps us when we are adjusting training plans. If you know we're looking and we're saying like, man, like I'm not sleeping well, I'm not, XYZ, I might say like, okay, we're going to take a beat next week and roll it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But this is something that's just so important for all of us to recognize, and I think also for like planning. Like I have this
Yeah.
conversation with my runners who are like, hey, I want to do this like race, and then we get to talking and they're like, yeah, and I'm going on vacation like this day, and I'm also like moving, and I'm also
Yeah.
like just started a new job, and I'm like,
Mm.
this is probably not the right time to increase your training volume.
Yeah.
So those are things like that are just so important to think about. And then the next thing is more like an immediate in the moment. I like to use the stoplight method for modification.
Mm.
So green would be, I'm at my baseline, I'm good, like let's go ahead with the training as scheduled, or let's continue whatever I'm doing.
Hmm.
Yellow is like I'm having symptoms but I'm still able to do things, so it might be
Yeah.
like moderate, low or moderate symptoms.
Yeah.
But I'm going to modify. So that might be shorten the run, walk instead or cycle instead, take a rest day and move it over, depending on how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But that yellow light is kind of that middle ground. And then red light is like I'm experiencing severe symptoms or I'm in a flare. I can't regulate my heart rate if I'm, living with dysautonomia, or I'm just in like really bad pain, etc. This is where we are resting, opting for some breathing exercises instead, like some gentle movement, gentle breathing exercises just to help kind of regulate. But this is when we are saying, no, we're not going to go ahead as planned. We're gonna move things around. And I think that stoplight method can help people when they're deciding if they should go ahead with the plan for the day.
Yeah.
Um, and using that helps us to not push through when we shouldn't be pushing through.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Um, um, my last like little nugget will be to look at exercise as a dial instead of a switch.
Ooh,
So, and I got this from someone else, and now I can't remember who it
that's
was, but
okay.
it's, I mean, it's been all over social media, but if we look at exercise like an on and off switch, where we're like starting over or
Yeah.
stopping, it's not as helpful as looking at it like a dial that can be turned down and turned up as needed. So it's not that, okay, we turn down the dial and, now we turn down the dial and now we're going to like, gradually
Yeah.
turn it up again. I think mentally that helps people versus like I stopped and now I'm starting over again. No,
Yeah.
we're riding the wave of chronic illness and we're adjusting the dial as these ups and downs come because we know that they're going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is the nice thing about like, if there is a nice thing about a flare, is that it will end. Like you've been through so many of them that like eventually you know that like it will stop,
Hmm.
which is helpful when like I start to go in them. I'm like, I know that it will stop eventually. I don't know how long it's gonna last. Might be a day, might be a week, might be 2 weeks, but like
Yeah.
eventually it will end and I'll feel a little bit better. So like that is nice. It's comforting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And
I
that's
love
that's
those
just
though.
yeah, some little like tidbits and that all it honestly really just comes back to managing expectations
Yeah.
and learning that acceptance piece, accepting that you're not necessarily in full control. That's okay.
Hmm.
And knowing that your journey is going to look a little bit different. It's still valid and
Hmm.
that is one of the most important things
Yeah.
is giving yourself that validation and knowing like I'm doing the thing even though it looks different,
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
I love. Where can people find you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at the underscore running underscore dpt, or
Love.
you can yes or you can find me on my website, www.therunningdpt.com. There's some more information on how you can work with me on the website. So you can jump on that website and fill out a contact form, and I
Yay.
will respond pretty quickly. Or if you have any questions, just feel free to jump in my DMs on Instagram. I respond to them all the time, and I
Hmm.
love hearing from people. Uh, so, I am grateful for the opportunity to be on this podcast and reach, a new audience.
Hmm.
Hopefully some of you have found some of these things helpful. And if you want more tips on running and living with chronic illness, follow me on Instagram.
Yay. Yeah, I will put in the show notes your Instagram and also a link to your website so people can just click on it
Awesome.
from there. But this is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Ah,
Thank you for having me, Lexi. I appreciate it.
of course.